I don't care what that survey says, this ticket is a clear violation. You cannot park facing the wrong way in this cul-de-sac.
The cold air slapped my face when I stepped outside at 9:00 p.m. and saw flashing amber lights bouncing off my neighbor's windshields like a crime scene. A tow truck sat half in the street, engine rumbling, and the whole Cul De Sac smelled like wet asphalt and burned coffee. My cousin's SUV was parked across from my driveway, perfectly inside the curb, and yet a guy in a neon vest was sticking bright orange tickets under wipers like he was feeding a hungry machine. Karen from the HOA board was right there in fuzzy slippers, holding a clipboard, smiling like Christmas came early. She didn't even look at me. She just nodded at the tow driver like she was his manager. My guests were standing in my entryway, confused, holding paper plates, and I could feel the party dying behind me. That was the night everything changed, because HOA ticketed my guests across the Cul De Sac for facing wrong way. Then I filed the survey. Karen waved her clipboard and said, "Sweet as syrup, community rule. Vehicles must face the correct direction. Safety issue." She pointed at my cousin's tires like they offended her personally. I said, "It's a Cul De Sac. People turn around here all day." She told me the fine was $125 per car, plus a tow fee if we didn't pay within 15 minutes. 15 minutes. The tow driver shrugged like he'd heard that script before. My aunt whispered, "Are we in trouble?" I said, "No, we're just surrounded by bored people with power." The next morning, May 3, 2024, I marched to the clubhouse with a travel mug of coffee so strong it could wake a statue. The lobby was quiet, but not calm. It was the kind of quiet where people pretend not to see you. Two neighbors looked down at their phones like I was contagious. I asked the property manager to explain why they ticketed cars on the street. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She said, "The board decides enforcement. You can appeal at the next meeting." I showed her the tickets, 5 of them, all written in the same sharp handwriting. She slid a form across the counter like a punishment. At the meeting, Karen acted shocked I was upset. She said, "We're only keeping standards." A board member coughed and stared at the floor. My appeal got tabled in under 2 minutes, like my words were trash. I drove home feeling hot in my ears and hollow in my chest. It wasn't the money, even though my guests handed me cash like they were bailing me out of jail. It was the humiliation. Karen had made my house feel like a target. And I knew she would keep doing it, because nobody stopped her. That's when I drew my line. No yelling. No threats. No sneaking around at night. Just proper channels, paper trails, and the kind of patience that makes bullies nervous. I started small. I emailed the HOA for the rule, the authority, and the map of what they claimed was private roadway. I requested records. I asked for the enforcement contract. I kept my tone calm and polite, which somehow made Karen even meaner in her replies. She wrote back at 6:12 a.m. with words like compliance and consequences. Then I built my case like it was a school project that could ruin someone's weekend. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I took pictures of every entrance sign, every curb marking, and every spot Karen loved to lurk. I recorded dates and times. Timeline item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. That one was from my neighbor who told me Karen called the police because his brother parked for 10 minutes to drop off a baby stroller. Timeline item 2 May 3 at 9:00 p.m. 5 wrong way tickets during my family dinner. Timeline item 3 May 6 at 7:18 p.m. email threat to tow. I also filed a public records request with the city for street dedication, plat maps, and any past complaints. 2 weeks later, the file landed with 63 pages, and right in the middle was the quiet truth Karen never expected me to find. The Cul De Sac Street was not HOA property. It was a public right-of-way maintained by the city. The HOA could make rules, sure, but they couldn't write fines for street parking like they were the police. Even better, the tow company contract Karen bragged about? It was signed only by her, not the board, and it had the wrong address listed. I didn't scream. I didn't celebrate yet. I did one more thing, the clean, lawful finishing move. I hired a licensed surveyor and filed the updated boundary survey with the county clerk, the one that showed the HOA line ending before the curb. It cost me $850, and I treated it like an investment in peace. When the stamped survey hit public record, I emailed the board and the city code office the same day. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. I wrote that line plain, because I wanted them to understand this wasn't a vibe. It was evidence. The next board meeting felt like a movie scene where the villain doesn't know the plot twist is coming. The room was packed, and not because they loved the HOA. People were tired. A teenager in the back was already filming on his phone like he smelled drama. Karen started with her usual smile, but it twitched when she saw my binder. I handed each board member a copy of the survey and the city records. The property manager's face turned the color of printer paper. Karen tried to laugh and said, "That's just your opinion." I pointed to the city seal and the recorded stamp date, May 21, 2024. Then I read the tow contract address out loud, slowly, and the room made this low sound, like a choir of really nosy bees. Someone whispered, "She can't even spell our street name." Another neighbor snorted so loud they had to pretend it was a cough. The authority flip happened fast after that, like everyone was waiting for permission to stop being scared. A city inspector showed up the next week, May 28, 2024, at 10:15 a.m., and he walked the street with a clipboard that looked way more official than Karen's. He told Karen, in front of 3 neighbors watering lawns, that the HOA had no authority to ticket on public roadway. He also told the tow company they could be reported if they kept towing without legal grounds. 2 days later, a police officer knocked on Karen's door about multiple false calls. I didn't celebrate that part. I just watched the system do what it's supposed to do when someone abuses it. The HOA's attorney sent a letter offering refunds for every ticket issued on the street, plus a credit of $200 for inconvenience. Karen suddenly missed the next 2 meetings. Funny how that works. By June 10, 2024, the Cul De Sac felt like a neighborhood again instead of a trap. People parked where they wanted, like normal humans, and nobody flinched when headlights turned in. The board voted to remove Karen from enforcement duties, and the tow company's patrol vanished overnight. My cousin came back for another dinner, parked the same exact way on purpose, and we all laughed when nothing happened. Even the neighbors who used to look away started waving. One older lady brought me banana bread and said, "I'm glad someone finally stood up without acting crazy." That hit me harder than any ticket. I didn't win because I yelled the loudest. I won because I stayed calm, collected proof, and made the truth official on paper where Karen couldn't bully it away. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.